Hey everybody, I am talking to you down here from the bottom of your screen because I'm at the LA Auto Show and the RF interference out here is really extreme, and that's because we're all using RF microphones, and of course there's Wi-Fi going on in this building as well. So in this video you will hear a little bit of interference, and also the beginning of this video has some audio issues. Today I'm out here with the Vinfast VF9. This is, for me, one of the most interesting three-row EVs that's going to be on sale in America very, very soon. Because the price tag is right if you're interested in leasing the battery. The price tag is a little bit higher if you're looking to buy the battery, but it is one of the roomiest three-row vehicles in the electric segment, period. And it's also going to be built eventually in the United States. So although it may not qualify for the federal tax credit at the beginning, eventually it looks like it might. Pretty large three-row crossover at over 200 inches long. This is sort of Dodge Durango size, so this is definitely going to be bigger than the Volvo EX90 and apparently bigger than the Kia EV9 as well. Up front we have a very distinctive design. This design was done by Pininfarina of Italy. They've designed all sorts of luxury vehicles out there. Full LED headlights and turn signals here, the very distinctive V-shaped light strip, light pipe in there with the Vinfast logo, and really cool design here, very much like we find in the Jaguar I-Pace, a functional vent. So right here air would go in and then it would come out the top of the hood here. That helps relieve pressure up front, but it gives this the blunt nose look that a lot of SUV shoppers like. As we take a look at this from around the side, you can really see how this fits in with the design. Let me know what you think about this particular design. It means that we get a smaller storage area under the hood. It does have a front trunk, but it's obviously going to be smaller because this entire section of the front end is not usable for cargo, but it does really give it a very cool modern European aesthetic. Here's what the vents look like if you're looking at the front edge of the hood there as it's bobbing around there as people are getting in and out of the car. And then down here we find the cargo area. It is kind of an eccentrically shaped front trunk. We have a small storage area right there. There's some fuses behind there, the 12-volt battery, things like that are there. And then a small little storage cubby over on this side with cute little separate floor mats there, maybe for your charge cable adapters, things like that. Again, the size of the VF9 is important to keep in mind. This is a pretty big three-row electric vehicle. It's not quite as large as an X7, but it is certainly larger than the BMW X5 and larger than the Volvo EX90, which is coming on the scene soon. At the rear of the VF9, we have a very distinctive styling element that I hope makes its way to other Vinfast products, because this looks really cool with the window swooping in there, pinching to that Vinfast logo, popping back out kind of like a whale tail all the way across that rear window, and then the glass wrapping around to the rear. This definitely has a substantial look. Now let's take a look at the tires and the wheels down here, because this does appear to be a production intent vehicle. 275 width tires, just as you'd expect on a luxury SUV. So range is a little bit tricky to define right now because most of the range estimates we've had are WLTP range estimates. Now here's the thing that everybody has been asking about. What is the VF9 like on the inside? Well, I'm back here in the third row. Let's check it out. Obviously the seat bottom cushion is practically on the floor. You can see that my knees are really up in my chest. But as far as headroom goes, this is incredibly roomy and surprisingly roomy back here. I really hope that the EX90 ends up this roomy. This is the kind of thing that I could definitely do for hours. You could probably cross your legs if you needed to be a bit more comfortable. And in case you're wondering, no center seatbelt back here in the third row. So in terms of width, it feels a bit roomier than I had expected. This second row seat is not all the way forward. It would move further back in its tracks. Rather unfortunately, the battery is unplugged on this one. It was plugged in earlier, but I guess too many people were poking around with all the power features and they decided to pull some fuses out. Other interesting touch is that up here on this bar, we have two-pane, huge moonroofs going on here, and this is where they place the air vents for the third row. That's a really good position, I say, because I like air in my face. I'd rather have that than air vents on the side of the vehicle. And this is an absolutely enormous panoramic moonroof. The second row seats flip and tumble very much like a traditional SUV. So you can see that seat in that position right there. They latch down and then you have to pop them back up. But they are also multi-way powered seats, which is kind of an interesting twist. So if I hop in here, you can see the power controls here for the second row. This is going to be optional. 4-way adjustable lumbar support, power recline, and power slide forward backward for that second row seating position. That's really kind of an interesting touch. Large fixed center console here, of course. We have some touch screens on the interior for the rear passengers. We have window shades right there for the rear passengers as well. And I have to say that all the attention to detail I think is done really nicely. Big storage pockets on the rear doors. It's that large handle there. Now all the door latches are electric, which is a little unfortunate for a vehicle that currently has its battery unplugged. This large fixed center console has a storage area inside. You can see there's a Qi wireless charging mat there, nice touch. Large cup holders there, storage area. These are the controls for the climate control in the back. 90-watt USB-C power outlet right down there, so you can power things like a big MacBook in the rear. And the rear seats have a pretty substantial feel to them. That surprises me a little bit because they could have given us a bit more cargo room, or legroom rack there in the third row if those seats had been a little bit thinner. Now, speaking of cargo room, there is not a lot back there behind the third row. I can't open the hatch because the battery is out, but I can show you what's going on back there. You actually might be able to squeak maybe 2 24-inch roller bags back there, perhaps 3 22s, and here's a view from the other side. The interior design is relatively similar to the rest of the Vinfast lineup. We have turn signal and stalks that feel very BMW-like. They're probably made by the same supplier. And you'll notice that we don't have an instrument cluster in front of the driver. Some folks might be disturbed by that, but I like the fact that instead Vinfast is giving us a heads-up display, and I think that's a perfectly acceptable substitute. It really gives the dashboard that clean look that some people are interested in. And we have regular old air vents here on the dashboard, so no fiddling with the infotainment system to direct the air vents around. The dashboard has a really clean design theme with that big central display. Unfortunately, again, the battery is off, so I can't show you that at the moment. Large air vents there, wireless charging mat, push button shifters. Cup holders are under that little door. We have the audio controls right there, and then again, more storage right there in that large center console. But you'll notice that unlike some EVs, we don't have any sort of pass-through area right there in the middle. This does appear to have a structure that still has a hump in the middle. And if I go back there to the rear, you'll actually see that hump right there between the two rear seats. So this has a platform perhaps that maybe shares some similarities to an ICE platform vehicle, or they could be using that channel area for cooling or battery connectivity, things like that. The steering wheel has a decidedly sporty look with big sport grips up there, buttons on the front of the steering wheel. All the buttons have a really premium feel, so I suspect they're using a supplier very similar to what some of the European car companies do. The airbag cover, however, is just plastic, and I had expected something perhaps a little bit snazzier in a vehicle with this price tag. How much will a VF9 set you back? Well, it's going to be on the expensive side. It's going to start at $76,000 if you want to buy the battery, but you could get it for less if you're willing to lease the battery, $57,500. That would be for the smaller battery pack. There are going to be two of them, a 92 kilowatt hour battery pack and one that's 123 kilowatt hours. We don't have official EPA range estimates for this vehicle just yet. The ones that you've been seeing out there are all WLTP estimates, and those are generally pretty, I guess, optimistic as far as range goes. This could get around 300 miles if we're talking about the big battery pack. That's my expectation. I love the look. Let me know what you think about that, especially what you think about this interesting ducting going on up front. This has an aerodynamic benefit, it has a visual benefit, but also it has a pedestrian impact benefit, in case you're wondering. In European countries where pedestrian impact standards are very important, this gives you a little bit more crush zone there for a pedestrian to bop on the hood. That's why we find such blunt nose designs there in a lot of European vehicles, like the Jaguar I-Pace as well. Now, the battery warranty is really going to be an interesting point for people that are interested in EV and maybe they're worried about battery lifetime. If you lease the battery in your VF9 or any new VinFast, then during the time that you're paying the lease, which is basically until you either die or trade in the car, then they're going to replace the battery pack if the battery capacity drops below 70%. But you are always going to be paying for that battery lease. If you'd rather buy the battery, you're going to pay more for the vehicle initially, but you're going to have a 10-year unlimited mileage battery warranty, where if the battery drops below that capacity, they will again replace the battery for free. That's in addition to the long standard bumper-to-bumper warranty and the service design, etc. for the vehicle. Now, the battery packs are currently made by Samsung. We don't know who's going to be making the batteries long term because VinFast says that they're going to be opening a battery factory as well as a new factory in the United States to build the VF9. Yes, you heard that right. The VinFast will be built in North America. So initially, it won't qualify for any federal tax credits, but at some point later, when the manufacturing actually moves to North America, they will qualify for at least a portion of that federal tax credit, likely just the battery or the manufacturer assembly location for the vehicle credit. It's split in half, so the battery sourcing materials, it may not qualify, but the build location, it should qualify for that tax credit. If you want to know more, stay tuned because hopefully I'll get my hands on one of these to drive soon. These should be on sale in early 2023, so stay tuned, and there are already dealerships that are open in California if you want to see one of these in person. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Check out all the related videos from the LA Auto Show, and let me know what you think about the VF9. See you later.